Well, take it off, Matthew.
I
We are, thank you, Matthew.
got a whale. Okay.
So we started on a section on what Jack Cornfield calls necessary healing.
Bart, would you like Bentley or would you like Tiffany to give us an update before you get
We
Yeah,
have had some
into
okay.
too.
good teaching?
Yes,
Yes,
thank
we
you.
were going to do that. Thank you.
Let's go ahead with that. We have other people that have joined in.
Oh, well, you guys are sweet. The update, short and sweet, is that Dad is home finally after several days in the hospital. The situation is still, pretty tenuous. He is not eating and drinking the way that he should. So if you happen to give him a call, encourage him to drink something while you're talking. I've been pretty relentless, kind of on his ass about that. So that's the short and sweet of it, is that he is finally home. His numbers, have kind of stabilized. So that's a good thing. They're not great, but they're not awful. And yeah, that's really all there is to report. If anybody that has, specific questions or wants to do a deeper dive, Linnell can share my contact information. I'm happy to chat with you guys. So thank
And
you
he
for
goes to the oncologist on Friday.
Next week he goes.
Yeah, the deal is that he will go to see the oncologist on the 18th. And she's gonna make the call on that day about whether or not he is or is not a candidate for chemotherapy. And even if he is a candidate for chemotherapy, it is still his choice about whether or not he's gonna take that path. So we will see.
Well, thank you, dear.
Thank you.
And keep your prayers and thoughts coming. I believe in the power of that stuff, and
You too.
some of the research shows that it's even more effective at long distance. Why that is, I don't know, but the science is out there. So
This is a powerful group, so y'all keep it coming.
I agree. Um, so we were talking about meditation and how it affects our processes. It's not just a matter about learning to still your breath. And even though we did talk about the breath and how the breath in and of itself could become extremely fascinating when you begin to get deeper into it as a process and feel its impact on the whole body. But he has this to say about our relationship to the body in meditation. And you've heard me say that we spend so much time in the external world that we really don't know what our body is doing. It's something that, as a study with children, they said, "What does your body do?" And they said, "Moves my head from room to room." And that's kind of how we look at it. They said meditation practice begins with techniques for bringing us to an awareness of our body. This is especially important in a culture such as ours, which has neglected physical and instinctual life. James Joyce wrote of one character, Mr. Duffy lived a short distance from his body. So many of us do. In meditation, we can slow down and sit quietly, truly staying with whatever arises. With awareness, we can cultivate a willingness to open to physical experiences without fighting against them, to actually learn to be with and live in our bodies. As we do so, we feel more clearly its pleasures and its pain. Because our acculturation teaches us to avoid and run from pain, we don't know much about it. To heal the body, we must study pain. When we bring close attention to physical pains, we will notice several kinds. We see that sometimes pain arises as we adjust to unaccustomed sitting postures. Other times, pains arise as signals that we're sick or have genuine physical problems. And these pains call for direct response and healing action from us. However, most often the kind of pains we encounter in meditative attention are not indications of physical problems. They are painful physical manifestations of our emotional, psychological, and spiritual holdings and contractions. Theodore Reich, the pioneering body psychiatrist, called these pains our muscular armor. The areas of our body that we have tightened over and over in painful situations as a way to protect ourselves from life's inevitable difficulties. Even a healthy person who sits somewhat comfortably to meditate will probably become aware of pains in his or her body. As we sit, our shoulders, our backs, our jaws, and our necks may hurt. Accumulated knots in the fabric of our body, previously undetected, begin to reveal themselves as we open. As we become conscious of the pain that they have held, we may also notice feelings, memories, or images connected specifically to each area of attention. As we gradually include in our awareness all that we have previously shut out and neglected, our body heals. Learning to work with this opening is part of the art of meditation. We can bring an open and respectful attention to the sensation that make up your bodily experience. In this process, we must work to develop a feeling awareness of what is actually going on in the body. We can direct our attention to notice the patterns of our breathing, our posture, the way we hold our back, our chest, our belly, our pelvis. In all these areas, we can carefully sense the free movement of energy or contractions and holdings that prevent it. When you meditate, try to allow whatever arises to move through you as it will, but let your awareness be very kind. Layers of attention will gradually release and energy will begin to move. Places in your body where you have patterns of old illness and trauma will open. And then a deeper physical purification and opening of your chi channels will occur as knots release and dissolve. Sometimes this opening, we will experience a powerful movement of the breath, sometimes spontaneous vibrations, and other physical sensations. So again, the contractions, that's the way we survived our childhood, was contract, constrict. And that does blunt the pain. Stress hormones blunt the pain. We get mad at our defenses, and I thank my defenses every time they manifest. I honor you, because back at a time where I had no control and no awareness, you were the things that emerged from my body to protect me from a pain that I couldn't feel, couldn't release, couldn't integrate. So a primary way of looking at meditation is expanding our window of tolerance. Not so much pain that we begin to disintegrate, but not so little pain that we begin to feel numb. So we'll be somewhere in there. And the attitude of compassion, again, he talks in there about his work with Stephen Levine, and saying the difference in the way that they approach pain, and so much attention is being given to meditation as a way of dealing with chronic pain since the opioid crisis, and their shift in what makes this approach a little bit different is the emphasis on dealing with the body with compassion, not having a goal for it, but developing a tender, deep, safe space for your body to be where it's not in trouble. We're always saying unkind things to our body and treating it as if it's something that's intentionally abusing us, when the reality is that we've abused it, and then we expect it to be kind back to us. And that's not the way the Dharma works. It's going to give back to you what you've given to it. But the hope is that after you reach a certain point, you'll have a tender relationship with each other. And Dana Fald says, wrote a little poem to her body. and it kind of shows you where you can end up. So she says to her body, "My dearest and most intimate friend, what a journey this life has been. We've taken it together, you and me, from infancy to maturity, from trauma to transcendence, from wishing you were different to embracing every curve and imperfection. Well, nope, I can't really say that I embrace migraines, but I have learned to soften into pain instead of pushing back against it. Migraines aside, we've come a long way from the days I didn't think twice about the food I fed you, the sleep I missed, and my presumption that you were an energizing bunny of a machine that would go on indefinitely no matter how I cared for you or didn't care for you. Thank you for not breaking down during the long years when I was unconscious of how precious you are. Thank you for being patient as I slowly learned ways to bring you into alignment with my mind, heart, and spirit. Thank you for helping me to explore and enjoy ways of stretching, strengthening, and breathing that are supportive to your well-being. And thank you for teaching me how closely intertwined body and mind really are, and how anxiety that begins in thought, belief, or memory translates so quickly into a clench of gut muscles, shoulders that creep up around my ears, or a jaw so tight I can barely pry my teeth apart to speak. Thank you especially for showing me how one deep breath can go a long way towards diffusing that kind of stress. I sincerely apologize for the body image that drove me to dysfunctional behaviors in years past. It took a long time for me to realize just how skewed my image of you was, and even longer to accept that you had your own way of being in this world that didn't match up with the perfectionist inside my head. As these old psychic wounds have healed, I find myself able to love you in a way I never could before. I appreciate all you've done for me, dear body, and I want to be in even closer partnership going forward. I want to love the size and shape and weight of you just as you are. I want to listen closely when you communicate without words, so that I can give you what you need sooner rather than later. I want to deepen our relationship and remember day by day how very well you have sheltered my soul and allowed me to grow. Each night before I fall asleep, I want to thank you for another day of tireless service, sending love to any place of pain and tightness. And even though I'm addressing this note to you as if I'm somehow separate, I know in the depth of me that body and mind are an integrated whole. As important as they both are, I know this body-mind matrix isn't all of me. I'm more than joints, muscles, or even the sum of my cells, synapses, and electrochemical reactions. What I call me is the embodiment of something I can't see. I have an invisible divine spark that illuminates you, flesh and blood reality, with infinite light. This knowing offers me true perspective, even as I continue to find ways to nurture, support, and appreciate everything you bring to our relationship. With heartfelt love and gratitude, I thank you. So as we enter this journey, or continue this journey, let this invigorate our practice to be more mindful and grateful for our body. Think about your heart. How many times it's beaten already in your life, and how much more it's got? How many breaths have you taken? How much food have you digested? All without your control, all without effort. Truly a miracle. So let's sit comfortably with our bodies today, letting them emerge in our awareness as they want, and treat them and greet them with gratefulness and compassion. As your mind wanders, as it inevitably will, gently bring yourself back to the present, back to your body, taking the opportunity to notice your posture, any unconscious patterns of slouching, tightening. Restore the awareness of your breath and invite your body to relax in the safe, sacred space that you've created. As discomfort arises in the body, allow yourself to see it not so much as an intrusion, as an invitation. Turn toward it. Allow your awareness to enter it and expand and create space for it to reveal itself in all its complexity. As parts of your body begin to fatigue, begin to notice the rising discomfort, perhaps rising agitation in the mind as it tries to fix it, creating more distress in the body, and see that link. without needing to understand or control. Breathe into any clenchings, any pushing away, creating a soft, allowing space for the mental and physical distress to emerge together. Perhaps seeing clearly for the first time their inner relationship. So, one comment before I throw it open is that since I work with a lot of people who had abusive and neglectful childhoods, one of the things that happens that I want to address, just to say that this is normal for us, is that pain will often cause us to be thrown back into a dorsal state, into our wounded child, our pain body, very quickly, because it reminds us of the pain of our childhood. It's unrelenting. We can't escape it, which is what our abusive environments were like. We feel that loss of control, which is a major trigger point for people with abuse. So it's not unusual for someone with abuse issues to be sitting on the cushion and all of a sudden get triggered into past abuse issues. And the important thing on that is to get up off your cushion, immediately get up and walk around, because the discipline isn't meant to be abusive. It's not meant to be something you've got to force yourself into in order to get well. It's something to watch how that stuff will emerge spontaneously and see your triggers. So know that it's one of the ways that we're set up. When Brad and I first started meditating, and I would meditate, I would lay on the ground in Shavasana, and I'd get vertigo and feel like I was spinning and like the floor was falling out from underneath me. And it took me a long time to get to where I could even sit and stay present or avoid dissociating from my body completely. So it's important when you hear these instructions to understand it needs to be within a context of where your body is when you finally wake up and decide to acknowledge its existence. So if you ever have issues like that and you don't feel comfortable talking with them in the group, don't hesitate to give me a call. Okay, so questions or comments?
You mentioned the wiener dog thing, and in conjunction with what you just said, Bart, I remember the time when you were jumping around and flashing your wiener all over the place, and Dr. Vasavita said, "Yes, he's got it. He's there."
Those moments are never what we think they are. There was one Hindu saint. Oh God, what was her name? It wasn't Lala. One of them, and she fell totally in love with Shiva, and all she did was write erotic poems to him and run around the streets naked. And she said that she did it to feel closer to him. She didn't want to have any barrier between her body and her lover. And we, in Shreveport, we have a church, First Methodist Church, right at the head of Texas Street. And it's right next door to the Bottoms, which is a notorious ghetto area where Leadbelly played. And one day, the pastor walks in and finds a black woman totally, the fact she's black was irrelevant. I don't know why I said that. But laying totally naked in front of the altar. And she said exactly the same thing. He goes, "My Lord, woman, what are you doing?" She said, "I came in here to get closer to God." So, yeah. Yeah, the law does not look favorably upon that behavior, however, especially near school grounds.
I don't know if you've seen it, Bart, but just recently on PBS television, there was a wonderful story about the Hull House and the whole history to that, which I didn't know when we were there.
Yeah. That's the whole beginning of the social work movement.
Mm-hmm.
Jane Addams. So, anybody else?
And just, I'll get off now, but I just wanted to say to Tiffany, I sent you a text.
Yeah, thank you.
Bart, it was just, it's really helpful to have an unguided meditation, but to have someone like yourself, like what you did, come in like 2 or 3 times, kind of to trigger where we might be. Yeah, I really like that. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I was wondering about that, and I like it myself because it's so easy to drift off and get lost. So, one of the ways of looking at instruction is that it's the way the witness works. So, over time, your witness awareness will do the same thing. It will catch you out. So, your teacher is meant to be that thing that stands outside your awareness and keeps reminding you, hey, come back to your body, come back to your breath, come back to the present moment, take a step back. So it begins just like your shaming began with an external shaming voice. Every bit of shame that you feel, you've learned. Kids are not embarrassed about anything. Again, talking about flashing wieners, he should never started this. I was up in Benton Harbor, Michigan, my first church, and my wife at the time, we were there with home hospitality. And these are very proper people. They dressed for dinner. He was vice president of the bank. And their kid's getting ready for bed, and he walks out stark naked and walks up to Rosamond and goes, "This is my penis." And she studies it very carefully and says, "And a very fine penis it is, Liam. Thank you for sharing." And he went back to his room. He had no shame. He had no shame. And there's a book called Soul Without Shame that we probably need to visit again. So that idea that we're always looking at ourselves through shaming eyes. We had it outside, we introjected it, we internalized it. Now we sit and shame ourselves all day long and think we're being honest. We call that part of ourselves our conscience. That, well, oh, you shouldn't have done that, should have done this, should have done that. That is not your conscience. That is the insanity. That is the conditioned mind. Conditioned mind doesn't judge, okay? So the witness is sitting out here just gently reminding you, oh, you might not want to do that. Or you might want to do this. So learning to differentiate. So your teacher is that outside voice, seeing without judgment. That's what we mean, non-judgmental awareness, allowing us to self-correct in the process. So,
Bart, I have a question that draws on your experience as a minister. What you just said, does that not really originate from a Christian mythology or a Christian, the whole guilt and shame and all of that? Because going way back thousands of years in other religions like Buddhism and Hinduism, and certainly in a lot of tribal religions, the bodily shame or the shame of revealing your body doesn't really exist, does it? Isn't this mostly a Christian thing?
okay, let me, okay, two things. First, what you're saying about Christianity and guilt goes back to Judaism, goes back way far, this idea that somehow we are imperfect in the eyes of God and that we need to correct our behavior. Definitely is a part of all the Western religion, okay? The Dalai Lama, when he started approaching us, did not understand what we were doing with our self-hate dialogue. And a bunch of Western psychiatrists were talking to him, trying to explain the process, and he listened with genuine concern and confusion. And he goes, that must be very painful. But he had nothing in him that could relate to us doing that. And our teacher Vasavada would say in the East, people's egos are like a little thin shell that you can take a little tiny hammer and go, goop, and it falls away, and they have God realization. They're not that far away from it. He said, you in the West are so armored. He said it's almost impenetrable to get up through those layers of self-hate, self-criticism, and wounds that we've inflicted on each other and on ourselves. He said it's very hard to teach here. Brad, you're leaning in again. Did you have something to add?
Oh, yeah. On the other hand, in the Christian tradition, there was a whole era of art where they always showed Jesus's penis as a baby. And so there was a kind of an affirmation of our embodiment as well as all this other shame you're talking about.
And women's breasts, and they went in, cut things off statues and covered
Yeah.
them up, painted over them, anything to get rid of that. And so, body shame is something that is rampant in our culture because we're taught to search for a certain way that we should look and our bodies should look. And it changes, if you're not in fashion now, wait a minute, back in the 60s it was Twiggy and now it's the Kardashians. It's just a fashion. It's not real.
Everybody is perfect and marvelous, a miracle, all coming together and working just fine. I don't know if you know this, Bart, but I did a protest sermon in Ashland where they banned nudity because it's the only town in Oregon that banned nudity because there were people showing up at the plaza and getting naked for some reason. And there was a girl who came through town, and then there was a guy who was walking around. Anyway, they banned it. So I went to an art gallery that was having a showing of nudes in order to protest it. And I gave a sermon and I took off my robe and did it in the nude.
Oh,
And it was,
you did.
the news media was there. They made a story out of it, and it was on the YouTube for a while, but then they took it off YouTube. They didn't even give me a notice about it, but it's
Didn't
gone
meet
now.
the community standards, my friend. Good Lord.
What'd you say?
I said you didn't meet the community standards. Isn't that the phrase they said?
That's what I was trying to talk about.
Yeah.
There you go. Community standards, not God standards. And that's the problem again, Channing, is that in the West, this idea of authority, and nobody says this better than Alan Watts. He says we have the idea of God as the author of creation and therefore the final authority on what should be or shouldn't be. And that authority figures take on that power so that when you go before a judge or a teacher or a minister, we're supposed to feel that same reverence and awe and not argue with. Okay, and that's all bullshit. Okay, which is one of the reasons I have trouble with a personal God concept. And there isn't a person out there that created this and established these laws on whimsy. The Buddhist idea that this is how it emerged. It emerged the way it is. And it's not for you or against you. It simply is. All right. And when you live in harmony with it, you decrease the amount of pain you're in. And when you fight with it, you suffer. It's not a complex thing. It doesn't involve shame. And that's why they talk about ignorance, but it means ignorance in the sense that I'm choosing to ignore what's really happening and think that my way is a better way. So yes, letting go of shame. We don't have to go to Brad's level, okay? He is in a postdoctoral program, so I bow to that. I still won't go skinny dipping even with friends, but it's out there. Yeah.
It's no postdoctoral, Bart, a master's, just a master.
Yeah, I'm not going to use the masturbator joke either.
Well,
Hey, Brad, thank you.
thank you for that on the recording.
Uh,
Lorimer Mosley, the pain researcher, said when he was in elementary school, he had some question for his teacher about why things didn't quite make sense in the body. And she just looked at him and said, Lorimer, humans are fearfully and wonderfully made. So I always think of that when these quirks come up. I mean, it's an evolution, obviously, but it's just, it's this odd connection between this and this and this. Yeah.
So there again, just to point out to you, is the um,
Juxtaposition.
no, the two poles, the polarity of the sacred. One fearful, the other wonderful. That's what awe is, fearful and wonderful in our response. It's both and it includes each other. Faith includes doubt, okay? Trust includes fear. They can't be separated. We try to separate them in our mind, but they merge together, which is why, as our capacity to experience discomfort increases, as our capacity to sit in the face of fear and not run away, the more we can embrace reality, because both are appropriate responses to this moment. Okay? We keep thinking it's going to eliminate the fear. No, it's not. It's going to enable us to experience it without leaving.
And judgment, which is such a such a problem in our suffering, self-judgment, judgment of others. Judgment is really kind of based on the idea that there is a standard for perfection. Perfection is totally overrated. And when a society says, and the society can be any society, not just Western society, when the society says there is this one standard for perfection, whether it's the way you look or what you say or whatever, that's when judgment really kicks in, because then you start looking at yourself and saying, well, I'm not like that. I may have this, but not that. I'm too short, I'm too fat, I'm too whatever. And that's when we start really causing a lot of suffering with judgment. So if we could just try to let go of the idea of perfection, it's so ingrained in our culture here. You go to the convenience store and you happen to have exact change, so you pay with exact change, and the cashier says, "Oh, perfect."
Yes.
It's not perfect. It's just
I
exact change,
And it's in every script now. You get the guy for customer service on the phone. Oh, perfect. Give me your address. Oh, perfect. It's like,
Right.
and
There-
so,
There's a really, one of my favorite books is called Sex at Dawn, The Prehistory of Modern Sexuality. And a psychologist, anthropologist wrote it. In any case, he says this is a curious thing is that humans are more interested in sex
yeah,
than the other animals. We do it all around the cycle, all around the year. We've got it on our mind, da da da. But at the same time, humans are the only ones to hide and do it in the bushes.
yep,
They have a easily shamed kind of a bent. It's not just Christianity or Western tradition, it's all over.
yep. So let's shift on to perfection, and then we're going to close, Channy. Perfection is a Greek word. All right. It has to do with Platonic philosophy. It has nothing to do with Christianity. So Christianity, every religion has two branches. One is the one that is going to be dualistic, have a God, have you down here, and have a separation between the two, and we want to be told how to be, all right? Then there are the people who are the mystics. You are mystics. And by mystics, it doesn't mean otherworldly, supernatural. It means that you're moving towards a unitary understanding of life, that everything is a oneness expressed as diversity. Now, in those religions, you don't have judgment emerging, because awareness is and of itself non-judgmental. It means it's inclusive of everything. Okay? My eye sees everything, doesn't filter out anything. So pure awareness is non-judgmental awareness, and that is naturally compassionate. You don't get compassion, you don't train in compassion, you train in awareness, and your compassion centers grow. Why? Because you can see the good and the bad in everybody you deal with. All right. So Platonic philosophy, when it got into Christianity in the creeds and periods of Nicaea, you start having, this is good, this is bad, this is orthodox, this is not. If that good bad thing sounds familiar, yeah, it becomes a part of every persecution that's ever happened. So we are the people who will be persecuted for not agreeing with that division. Every person, including Jesus, who says, I am God, I am one with God, you see me, you see the Father, is going to be persecuted. You can't say that statement. Not because Jesus didn't say it, he said it. And he wasn't just talking about himself, he's talking about all of us. And he never said, be ye perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. He could not think that thought. He spoke Aramaic. They were trying to translate a phrase that he said, will only to unfold out of your own nature. Listen to that. Will only to unfold out of your nature, even as your Father in heaven wills only to unfold out of his nature. Okay? And it occurs within the context of the Sermon on the Mount, where he's saying God is love. We are created in God's image as love, not male, female, black, white, yellow. No, we're created because we are love, we are compassion, we are awareness. And he says, will only to unfold out of that nature. Well, and then he gives the commandment, love God with all your heart, mind, soul. Go to the source, fill up on all the love he's got for you. That's what we're doing. Get so full of that it spills over, and then go out and be a sower and just give it away. Don't worry about whether it's going to grow, what it does. Each of us is a gem. We're going to shed the light in different way, different color, different imperfection, different faceting, but it's all the same light, just reflected differently. And you're here, like they say, sing your song. If you don't sing your song, who's going to sing it? There's one opportunity in the universe to sing it. And all those birds, what do they do? Wake up in the morning, here I am, Bodie tweet, Bodie tweet. So what are you supposed to do? Let that go. Let go. Don't worry, right, wrong, who's going to get it, who's not going to get it. Just be your own wonderful selves and send all that marvelous energy you are out into the universe. Don't hold back, right?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Omi,
Yes.
let's send our beautiful voices out into the universe.
And to Tim,
And to Tim.
we
I
should,
hope to Tim.
Especially to Tim.
especially to Tim.
Tim, you're
And-
with us, Tim.
Yes. And in honor of Tim, 3 ohms and a wow.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I
Yeah.
like it.
Wow.
3 ohms and a wow.
Yes.
All right, here we go. Deep breath in.
Wow.
Ah,
Wow. Blessings to Tim.
Yeah.
Wow.
To Tim and to
wow.
Tiffany too.
Okay, Tim, tell Tim he's our Elijah. For
I
you
will tell him.
always set that table, the extra
That's,
plate.
that's right, the extra chair. Tim's here, just the extra chair for Elijah.
Tell him his seat is always with us.
I will
So-
tell him.
Okay.
Thanks, you
I don't know if y'all
guys.
can see, but I have a shirt that has a dog on it and it says live life like someone left the gate open.
Dogs out. Ooh.
Hey.
I'm headed to the garden, y'all. I love you.
Go.
Thank you.